Dulcie said,
"All right. You all can come on to supper."
Birch smelled like rain. He smelled like a dog, too. You could hear the fire in the roof. We could hear Caddy walking fast. Father and Mother looked at the door. Caddy passed it, walking fast. She didn't look. She walked fast.
"Candace,"
Mother said. Caddy stopped walking.
"Yes, Mother?"
She said. "Hush, Caroline," Father said.
"Come here."
Mother said. "Hush, Caroline," Father said. "Let her alone." Caddy came to the door and stood there, looking at Father and Mother. Her eyes flew at me and away. I began to cry. I went loud, and I got up. Caddy came in and stood with her back to the wall, looking at me. I went toward her, crying, and she shrank against the wall, and I saw her eyes, and I cried louder and pulled at her dress. She put her hands out, but I pulled at her dress. Her eyes ran. Bart said, "Your name Benjamin now. You know how come your name Benjamin now? They makin' a blue gum of you. Mammy said in old time your grandpa changed niggers' names, and he turned preacher, and then they look at him. He blue gum too. Didn't used to be blue gum neither. And when family woman look him in the eye in the full of the moon, child born blue gum. And one evening, when there was about a dozen them blue gum children running round the place, he never come home. Possum hunters found him in the woods. Et clean. And you know who ate him? Them blue gum children did." We were in the hall. Caddy was looking at me. Her hand was against her mouth, and I saw her eyes, and I cried. We went up the stairs. She stopped again against the wall, looking at me, and I cried. And she went on, and I came on, crying. And she shrank against the wall, looking at me. She opened the door to her room, but I pulled at her dress, and we went to the bathroom, and she stood against the door, looking at me. Then she put her arm across her face, and I pushed at her, crying. "What are you doing to him?" Jason said. "Why can't you let him alone?" "I ain't touching him," Luster said. "He been doing this way all day long. He needs whooping."
"He needs to be sent to Jackson,"
Quentin said.
"How can anybody live in a house like this?"
"If you don't like it, young lady, you'd better get out," Jason said.
"I'm going to,"
Quentin said.
"Don't you worry."
Birch said, "You move back some so I can dry my legs off." He shoved me back a little. "Don't you start bellering now. You can still see it. That's all you have to do. You ain't had to be out in the rain like I is. You's born lucky and don't know it." He lay back before the fire. "You know how come your name is Benjamin now?" Birch said. "Your mama too proud for you, what Mammy say." "You be still there and let me dry my legs off," Birch said, "or you know what I'll do? I'll skin your rinktum." We could hear the fire and roof and Birch. Birch got up quick and jerked his legs back. Father said, "All right, Birch."
"I'll feed him tonight,"
Caddy said.
"Sometimes he cries when Versh feeds him." "Take this tray up,"
Dulcie said.
"and hurry back and feed Benji." "Don't you want Caddy to feed you?"
Caddy said.
"Has he got to keep that old dirty slipper on the table?"
Quentin said.
"Why don't you feed him in the kitchen? It's like eating with a pig."
"If you don't like the way we eat, you'd better not come to the table," Jason said. Steam came off Roscoe's. He was sitting in front of the stove. The oven door was open, and Roscoe's had his feet in it. Steam came off the bowl. Caddy put the spoon into my mouth easy. There was a black spot on the inside of the bowl.
Now,
Dilsey said.
he ain't gonna bother you no more.
It got down below the mark. Then the bowl was empty. It went away.
He's hungry tonight.
Caddy said. The bowl came back. I couldn't see the spot. Then I could.
He's starved tonight.
Caddy said.
Look how much he's eaten. Yes, he will.
Quentin said.
You all sent him out to spy on me. I hate this house. I'm gonna run away.
Roscoe said, "It gonna rain all night." "You've been running a long time, not to get any farther off than mealtime," Jason said.
See if I don't.
Quentin said.
Then I don't know what I'm going to do.
Dilsey said.
It caught me in the hip so bad now, I can't scarcely move, climbing them stairs all evening.
"Oh, I wouldn't be surprised," Jason said. "I wouldn't be surprised at anything you'd do." Quentin threw her napkin on the table.
Hush your mouth, Jason.
Dilsey said. She went and put her arm around Quentin.
Sit down, honey.
Dilsey said.
He ought to be ashamed of hisself, throwing what ain't your fault up to you.
"She's sung again, is she?" Roscoe said.
Hush your mouth.
Dilsey said. Quentin pushed Dilsey away. She looked at Jason. Her mouth was red. She picked up her glass of water and swung her arm back, looking at Jason. Dilsey caught her arm. They fought. The glass broke on the table, and the water run into the table. Quentin was running.
Mother's sick again,
Caddy said.
Sure she is.
Dilsey said.
Weather like this make anybody sick. When you going to get done eating, boy? God damn you,
Quentin said.
God damn you.
We could hear her running on the stairs. We went to the library. Caddy gave me the cushion, and I could look at the cushion and the mirror and the fire. "We must be quiet while Quentin's studying," Father said. "What are you doing, Jason?" "Nothing," Jason said. "Suppose you come over here to do it, then," Father said. Jason came out of the corner. "What are you chewing?" Father said. "Nothing," Jason said.
He's chewing paper again,
Caddy said. "Come here, Jason," Father said. Jason threw into the fire. It hissed, uncurled, turning black. Then it was gray. Then it was gone. Caddy and Father and Jason were in Mother's chair. Jason's eyes were puffed shut and his mouth moved, like tasting. Caddy's head was on Father's shoulder. Her hair was like fire, and little points of fire were in her eyes. And I went, and Father lifted me into the chair, too, and Caddy held me. She smelled like trees. She smelled like trees. In a corner it was dark, but I could see the window. I squatted there, holding the slipper. I couldn't see it, but my hand saw it, and I could hear it getting night, and my hands saw the slipper. But I couldn't see myself, but my hands could see the slipper, and I squatted there, hearing it getting dark. "Here you is," Lester said. "Look what I got." He showed it to me. "You know where I got it?" "Miss Quentin gave it to me." "I knowed they couldn't keep me out. What you doing off in here? I thought you done slipped back outdoors. Ain't you done enough moaning and slobbering today without hiding off in this here empty room, mumbling and taking on? Come on, here to bed, so I can get there before it starts. I can't fool with you all night tonight. Just let them horns toot the first toot, and I done gone." We didn't go to our room,
This is where we have the measles.
Caddy said.
Why Why do we have to sleep in here tonight? What you care where you sleep?
Dilsey said. She shut the door and sat down and began to undress me. Jason began to cry.
Hush,
Dilsey said. She shut the door and sat down and began to undress me. Jason began to cry.
Hush,
Dilsey said. I want to sleep with Dimity, Jason said.
She's sick.
Caddy said.
You can sleep with her when she gets well. Can't he, Dilsey? Hush now,
Dilsey said. Jason hushed.
Our nutties are hearing everything.
Caddy said.
It's like moving, and you better get into them.
Dilsey said.
You be unbuttoning Jason.
Caddy unbuttoned Jason. He began to cry.
You want to get whipped?
Dilsey said. Jason hushed.
Quentin,
Mother said in the hall. What? Quentin said beyond the wall. We heard Mother lock the door. She looked in our door and came in and stooped over the bed and kissed me on the forehead.
when you get him to bed, go and ask Dilsey if she objects to my having a hot water bottle.
Mother said.
Tell her that if she does, I'll try to get along without it. Tell her I just want to know.
Yes'm, Luster said. Come on, get your pants off. Quentin and Verse came in. Quentin had his face turned away.
What are you crying for?
Caddy asked.
Hush.
Dilsey said.
You all get undressed now. You can go on home, Verse.
I got undressed, and I looked at myself, and I began to cry. Hush, Lester said. Looking for them ain't going to do no good. They're gone. You keep on like this, and we ain't going to have you no more birthday. He put my gown on. I hushed, and then Luster stopped, his head toward the window. Then he went to the window and looked out. He came back and took my arm. He came back and took my arm. Here she come, he said. Be quiet now. We went to the window and looked out. It came out of Quentin's window and climbed across into the tree. We watched the tree shaking. The shaking went down the tree, then it came out. We watched it go away across the grass. Then we couldn't see it. Come on, Luster said. There now. Hear them horns? You get in that bed while my foot still behaves. There were two beds. Quentin got in the other one. He turned his face to the wall. Dilsey put Jason in with him. Caddy took her dress off.
Just look at your drawers,
Dilsey said.
You better be glad your ma ain't seen you.
I already told her, Jason said.
I bound you would.
Dilsey said.
And see what you got by it,
Caddy said.
tattletale.
What did I get by it? Jason said.
Why don't you get your nightie on?
Dilsey said. She went and helped Caddy take off her bodice and drawers.
Just look at you.
Dilsey said. She wadded the drawers and scrubbed Caddy behind with them.
It done so clean through onto you.
She said.
But you won't get no bath this night. Here.
She put Caddy's nightie on her, and Caddy climbed into the bed, and Dilsey went to the door and stood with her hand on the light.
Y'all be quiet now, you hear?
She said.
All right.
Caddy said.
Mother's not coming in tonight.
She said.
So we still have to mind me. Yes.
Dilsey said.
Go to sleep now. Mother's sick.
Caddy said.
She and Muddy are both sick. Hush.
Dilsey said.
You go to sleep.
The room went black, except the door. Then the door went black. Caddy said,
Hush, Maury.
Putting her hand on me, so I stayed hushed. We could hear us. We could hear in the dark. It went away, and Father looked at us. He looked at Quentin and Jason. Then he came and kissed Caddy and put his hand on my head.
Is Mother very sick?
Caddy said. No, Father said. Are you going to take good care of Maury?
Yes.
Caddy said. Father went to the door and looked at us again. Then the dark came back, and he stood back in the door, and then the door turned black again. Caddy held me, and I could hear us all in the darkness, and something I could smell, and then I could see the windows where the trees were buzzing. Then the dark began to go in smooth, bright shapes, like it always does, even when Caddy says that I've been asleep.